So today we are going to start lecture 14, and here we are going to talk about the concept of the rate of convergence for different algorithms. Now we have already seen that typically optimization algorithms create a sequence of solutions. So essentially this sequence is created using the equation xk plus 1 equals xk plus the step size into dk, the search direction. And essentially how fast an algorithm moves towards its final solution depends on how this xk plus 1, xk minus 1, these move and they converge to a particular solution. So there are two main questions which come up whenever we are discussing some kind of method. And the first question is, does it converge? And this is important because you want to converge to a solution, and of course if you do not converge to a solution, that's not a good thing. The second issue is, how fast does it converge? So these are the two main practical and philosophical questions we ask whenever we come up with a new method in the computer science type of fields. Now typically the cost of a method depends on the number of steps required. That's one approach. Or you can count the number of operations required. So these could be the plus, minus, multiplication, division, and similar things which you do on the particular set of numbers which you are dealing with. Now the totality of these two aspects is known as the computational complexity of the algorithm. For many practical optimization methods, the number of operations which you need to do to find the actual solution can be very large. And there are many problems typically known as test functions where you actually know the precise optimal solution of the problem from necessary and sufficient conditions. And in those cases, you can check as and when you have reached this particular point to the level of 10 to the power of minus 8 or 10 to the power of minus 16 or whatever precision you are using on your computer. And to do this, you may find that you need a huge amount of time. So this also becomes particularly important because computer time is limited. Now we are going to define the rate of convergence, and this concept of the rate of convergence lets us compare two different algorithms. So for example, we are going to compare the steepest descent method versus the conjugate gradient method versus Newton type methods. And the rate of convergence of these methods is something which is very important in deciding whether you want to use the algorithm or not for any practical problem. So let's assume you have a sequence of points. These points are denoted by x superscript k, and these points converge to some optimal solution x star. So again, at each point k, the difference between the point xk and the final optimal point x star could be called e subscript k. And essentially you want to drive this particular number to 0. So we say the algorithm converges when we have the limit ek as k becomes higher and higher. This essentially should be driven to 0. So this will prove that your algorithm converges. And this is something, of course, you want in any problem, is that your sequence of xk's converges to x star, because that is the whole purpose of developing the method. So now we can say this sequence x1, x2, x3 all the way to xk converges to x star with rate r and rate constant c if the limit of ek plus 1 norm by ek norm to the power r equals c. So this particular equation is very important because this essentially defines two important parameters, the convergence rate r and the rate constant c, where c is a bounded number. So again, this is something to keep in mind here, and we will see that this R will become very important to determine the rate of convergence. So we can talk about linear convergence, quadratic convergence, and so on. So now we are going to further peruse this particular equation in the next slide. So let us presume for simplicity that we can drop the limit, and that kind of convergence behavior is ideal convergence behavior, and we can express the previous equation in this form. That's norm ek plus 1 equals the rate constant c into ek norm to the power r. Now linear convergence takes place when r equals 1. So when r equals 1, you immediately get this equation, which is in a very simple form. But you may have linear convergence, but the actual convergence of your algorithm or behavior of your algorithm is going to depend on the value of the rate constant c. So for example, we can consider three possible cases. When c lies between 0 and 1, you can see that this is going to keep getting reduced, the norm, and this reduction is going to take place by this constant factor. So of course this is good that c is less than 1, each time it is going to get reduced. But if c is greater than 1, this sequence is going to diverge. So having a linear convergence is not specifically a good thing if c is greater than 1, because in that case you are going to diverge and the algorithm is not going to give you the wanted result. Now the third situation is c is 1, and this case the values of ek plus 1 and all will not decrease, and so what we say it in common parlance is that the algorithm or the method got stuck. And if you have done some programming, you would find out that there are many situations where essentially the search which you are doing keeps giving very similar results, and essentially it's got stuck at a certain point. So that can happen when c equals 1. So the important thing to note from this particular slide is that even when r is 1, the actual behavior of the method would depend on the value of c or the rate constant, and depending on the type of method you are going to do better or worse. So of course the important point is that c between 0 and 1 is a preferred value, because in that case your method is going to converge. So we see that the rate constant c is also very important, and there are several possibilities when c lies between 0 and 1 for a convergent sequence depending on the value of c. So for example, let's take two scenarios where c is 0.1 and c is 0.99. So let's start with c is 0.1 and norm of E0 is 1. So then we see that with linear convergence we have this equation here, norm ek plus 1 equals c norm ek, and then I put here c is 0.1. So and E0 is 1, so the first term will be 1. The next term will be 0.1 into 1, which is here. The next term will be 0.1 into 0.1, which is here, and so on. And very quickly your ek plus 1 keeps reducing, and you find that 10 to the power of minus 7 is reached very quickly within k is equal to 7, which we can consider is a good result. So if you are seeing these numbers coming out on your computer, you are going to be extremely pleased with your method. But now consider the case c is 0.99, which is the side of the spectrum where you are just below 1 here, the bound c0 to 1 being the one which you want a convergent sequence. So in this case, the sequence of error norms is going to look like this, and you can see that this certainly does not look very good. And this method is going to continue on, and a huge amount of iterations are going to be required till you converge to 10 to the power minus 7. So in both these cases, you have linear convergence, but you can see that the method where c is a smaller value or the rate constant is a smaller value converges with much greater rapidity, and so is a much more desirable method, whereas the high value of c is a much less desirable method, and in fact would not be a practical method at all and would probably be discarded if you come up with something like this. So now let us look at one more kind of convergence which is quite desirable, and that is superlinear convergence. Now there are some cases of it and we are going to discuss them. So first case is if R equals 1 and C is 0. Now this particular case, what takes place is that the method converges in a way which is faster than linear. Now, superlinear convergence also includes all cases where R is greater than 1. So if you look at this particular definition and you then write this out, this limit here in this form, you can write this as if you take ek plus 1 by ek, this can be written in this particular form. So again here remember R is equal to 1 is being taken. And so if we write it in this form, you can get this here because this value is simply C. And so C being 0, you get this value here. So in this equation, we can see that if R equal to 1, then C must be 0 for this limit to be driven to 0. Now, these cases constitute superlinear convergence, which again, as I mentioned, is a more desirable rate of convergence. Now, the extremely desirable rate of convergence would be quadratic convergence, which happens when R equals 2. And whenever you have an algorithm with quadratic convergence, you converge rapidly. So let us take this case here where R is equal to 2, C is equal to 1, and E0 is 10 to the power minus 1. So you see that convergence is extremely rapid even with C is equal to 1 here, because essentially this EK is getting squared every time. So you are going from 10 to the power minus 1, minus 2, minus 4, minus 8. So very quickly you have converged to a very good level of discretization. So quadratic convergence is of course very desirable. Now, one case which is particularly important is when R lies between 1 and 2, and this is also a special case of superlinear convergence. And this is important because it is qualitatively similar to quadratic convergence for the precision of most computer calculations. And also quadratic convergence can be obtained by algorithms using only the first derivatives. Whereas, well, I should say superlinear convergence can be obtained by algorithms using only the first derivative. Whereas if you want to obtain quadratic convergence, you need to calculate second derivative also, which in multidimensional function would become the Hessian matrix. So essentially you can get superlinear convergence with gradient based methods, but quadratic convergence would require you to use the second derivative matrix also. So for example, consider the case if R is 1.5 and C is 1, then the norm would be something like this, and if we start with 10 to the power minus 1, we get something like this here. So here you take a little more time to converge to 10 to the power of minus 8, but it is almost as good as quadratic convergence. And linear rate of convergence is especially useful because many of the methods such as conjugate gradient and some different methods can aspire for this kind of superlinear convergence. So basically summarizing today's lecture, you have the two important concepts, rate of convergence and convergence rate, and you have linear rate of convergence, superlinear rate of convergence, quadratic rate of convergence, and you may even have cubic rate of convergence and so on depending on the value of R. But in all those cases, one must also remember the rate constant, and that would be very useful to determine the actual progress of the method. Now, in my book, I have given various examples for these convergence problems, and also I have given some examples using the steepest descent methods and some other methods where we have actually looked at the rate of convergence of problems applied to real functions. So you can check the book out for further information on this particular topic. So again, I will terminate this lecture here, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for my next video, which is going to start the conjugate gradient methods, which are the workhorse in optimization, very useful for very large scale problems, and those methods are also low storage methods. So essentially very good for very large scale problems. So if you have 100,000 design variables, then conjugate gradient is a good method to aspire for. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I will see you in the next video.